Well, hello and a very warm welcome. On today's page one, I am Nancy Bora and I am joined by my colleague Adrika Sharma on the show today. Adrika, what is going on? I mean, how are you doing today? And of course, when we were deciding, to create a story list, the conflict, the Israel conflict that is happening in Israel, is on every headline. I mean, how do you proceed with this?
Of course, long weekend, but a lot of updates that we've been getting here about the, ongoing from a very historical basis and from a great historical background is the Israeli conflict. And, the conflict in itself is very unprecedented this time, is because the Palestinian militant group is what we are getting from the sources. Hamas has launched an unprecedented attack on the city of Gaza, and now Gaza is, bearing the brunt of it. Gaza is blazing. The visuals that we will show you shortly are very devastating to see. Once again, it's painful what has been again unleashed on humanity, the crisis that the entire city of Gaza is going through, and we still don't know how many more such regions are here to follow. So Nancy, yes, that the entire act is very unprecedented. We don't know what else might follow. So yes, that.
Well, definitely, as you can see, the visuals on the screen that we have right now are from the airstrike that happened in Gaza. Let me just take the viewers through what is going on exactly. Well, there's been a significant escalation of conflict between Israel and the militant group Hamas. The death toll on Israeli side has tragically risen to at least 700, including 44 soldiers. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has described this as a long and difficult war. Meanwhile, in Gaza, there have been reports of at least 413 deaths due to Israeli airstrikes. Hamas targeted a music festival, resulting in around 260 casualties, with distressing videos showing festival goers fleeing in panic. The United National Security Council, the UNSC, saw various members denounce Hamas, but the United States have expressed regret over the lack of unanimity. Both the United States and Israel called for strong condemnation of the Palestinian Islamists. Well, there are claims that Iran played a role in planning the Hamas attacks, though the United States has not yet seen concrete evidence to confirm this. Tragically, an Israeli airstrike killed 19 members of a Palestinian family in a Gaza refugee camp, according to the Associated Press. The Palestinian mission to the UN has issued a response emphasizing that these events did not happen in isolation but are part of a long history of conflict. I mean, Adrika, whatever is happening right now in Israel is completely heartbreaking. We can see the visuals coming in. I mean, look at the blast that is happening. I mean, the airstrikes. This is the visuals that we are getting from Gaza.
And Nancy, I'm going to quote the Reuters report for you from 8th October that says that the Gaza Strip has suffered its deadliest day in 15 years in this wake of an unprecedented attack by Hamas, right? And to which the Israeli has responded with airstrikes that killed nearly 300 Palestinians in 24 hours. This is what the Reuters report of 8th October has for all of us. The death included 3-month-old twins. Nancy, we are talking about infants, just 3-month-old twins killed with their mother and their 3 sisters in an airstrike on Saturday in Khan Younis in the southern Gaza Strip. That's what the family members of the victims have been confirming. And Israel's main military spokesperson called the attack by Hamas fighters, who killed at least 700 Israelis and abducted dozens, as the worst massacre of innocent civilians in the Israel's history. And the response has been correspondingly harsh.
Yeah, definitely, Adrika, whatever is happening right now is definitely, devastating. But this attack was, Israel was taken by surprise. There was no warning beforehand, whatever happened. What we are reporting right now, that more than 700 people have already been killed, and it's just day 2 and the war is still going on. We, in Jerusalem, in Gaza, there was no warning given by the Hamas group, and what kind of support they got. And I mean, the reports are saying that Iran was giving them the support, the back-end support was provided by Iran to give this surprise attack that Israel we are seeing right now. And I mean, I was reading about it, and when I was Reading about it, and it says that as Israel reeled from the deadly attack by the Hamas militants who broke through the barriers around Gaza and roamed at will, killing scores of civilians in Israeli towns, defense chief faced growing questions over how the disaster could have happened. I mean, we are talking about a militant group here, and they have taken the whole country by surprise. I mean, whatever is happening is just heartbreaking, devastating, but the visuals that we are getting from Israel is heartbreaking. I mean, several airlines have suspended flights to Tel Aviv due to the ongoing conflict, and they are getting international, Israel is getting international support, whether it's the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who has expressed unequivocal support for Israel, and the UK Foreign Office issued a travel advisory for the region. And the concerning development that we are getting is that they are taking up of 100 Israeli as hostages, including women and children, into Gaza by the Hamas group. So I mean, this war is not going to end in it's just not a matter of 3 to 4 days. It's going to get worse and escalate even further, Adrika.
The visuals really do speak for themselves. All that we can see on the screens right now is in Gaza, black smoke and orange flames kind of beloved into the evening sky from high-rise tower hit by an Israeli retaliatory strike, right? Crowd of mourners carried the bodies of freshly killed Palestinians through the streets and wrapped in green Hamas flags. Gaza's dead and wounded were carried into crumbling, overcrowded hospitals with severe shortages of medical supplies and equipment. I mean, this again comes without saying that as we proceed to talk about the visuals that we are getting and the aftermath that follows, this also means the collapse of certain institutions put in place for any city for that matter. And we are talking about Gaza here, we are talking about the Palestinian conflict here that has gone on and on for decades now, and there still till this point, till this day, seems no solution or no end to it. So yes, I mean, what we are looking for is an event which is unfolding day by day, minute by minute, if I may. And we might report one death toll number to all our viewers, but then we wouldn't know after 2 minutes. We might just stand, wrongly stating such facts. So the entire narrative, the entire numbers, data that we're getting, is still something that is still developing. So we are not just yet sure, even when we are sitting, inside AC rooms, we are talking about the conflict. We can only imagine what is happening on the citizens of Gaza and all the people that are stuck there.
Well, definitely, Adrika. I mean, the visuals we are getting in from Israel is heartbreaking. Hundreds of airstrikes by Israel brought several buildings crashing down in Gaza. The Israelis are targeting Israeli military, Hamas tunnels and command centers in Israel. Gun battles were underway with Palestinian militants still at large hours after launching a surprise attack. I mean, you can see the visuals coming in. The security forces have been deployed. The army is on alert in Israel, and Hamas is targeting Israel and the offense and the way they have taken Israel, the whole country, by surprise, and the way the amount of the mass destruction that they have caused till now is definitely something that is really devastating. Well, in an operation that started on Saturday, Israel's security forces neutralized 10 terrorists and regained control of the Beirut police station that was overrun by Hamas terrorists. I mean, the police station they have gone to several schools, they have gone to several camps, they have gone to airports, they have gone to a music festival where they killed around 300 people, and we could see how people were running out in panic. And you can see the kind of chaos that has been going on the streets of the country. Tanks going in, the military tanks. I mean, it looks straight out of a Hollywood movie, an action movie, the way it's going on, and people there. I mean, what kind of terror that has been happening, and this kind of political unrest, this kind of unrest is something that won't go easily. I mean, the Israel Defense Forces says the Patriot air defense system launched in northern Israel appears to be a false alarm. You can see the visuals right there on your screen. It was just moments before the Patriot missile was launched. The IDF says it identified a suspicious object in the air approaching northern Israel and fired an interceptor at it. After an initial investigation, it was revealed not to be a drone by the military. I mean, you can see the visuals. I mean, you can hear screams of people and the way they are shouting. Al-Qassam brigades reveal that the Air Force had been engaged in battle since the early hours of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. They reveal that 350 Al-Zawri suicide drones were employed in different combat sites, attacking different enemy positions. Al-Qassam brigade shared footages of the Al-Zawri suicide drone attacking positions, Israeli position to distract the Iron Dome. The drone offered aerial support for terrorists to cross into the occupied Palestinian territories of the Gaza envelope. I mean, whatever is happening right now, I mean, you can see the visual, Sadrika. This was released by the Hamas group to counter the Iron Dome that was funded by US as well, to back up against the missiles. So they are gone with the suicide drones to counterattack the Iron Domes that we are talking about.
What we have to understand here is that the implications of this attack and how well planned it was, and to delve into that further, it is important to understand the mechanisms of it. Like Nancy has mentioned, the Iron Dome system and how advancedly it has been placed and put in the entire situation to execute this attack is absolutely unprecedented. And now that we are talking about Israel's Iron Dome system, let me break it for all our viewers. So the Iron Dome system is a short range air defense system which is known to have a 96% success rate in intercepting rockets. This is what the Reuters is reporting. So when I say 96% success rate in intercepting rockets, that means the moment these rockets are put in place, we already know that destruction is coming your way. We already know destruction is coming your way, and there is nothing that can be done. And like you can see on your screens, what is the Iron Dome? Simply broken down in layman's language, it has been developed by Israeli firms Rafael and IAI. And I'm also going through the AP Associated Press report. The Iron Dome system intercepted 90% of the rockets fired by Hamas in a recent attack. There are also reports that tell you that it was introduced back in 2011 for missile defense, and the system was developed by state-owned Rafael Advanced Defense Systems with backing of the United States in order to counter rockets fired by terrorist group of Hezbollah from Lebanon during the 2006 war by the Palestinian Hamas. The air defense system became operational in 2011, and it is considered as one of the most advanced defense systems in the world. The Iron Dome uses a radar in order to identify and destroy air-based threats before they can cause any damage. So we are talking about high level destruction machinery here. The Reuters is reporting the success rate to be 96%, whereas going by AP the success rate stands to be 90%. So one can only imagine the wrath and the fury that has been unleashed on Gaza, and people there are suffering. There is definitely a crisis there. The attack, according to the reports, look really well planned. We know that the Iron Dome, the Iron Dome goes back by 2011. It has also reportedly seen certain amount of support from the United States, is what we have learned so far.
I mean, Adrika, look at the visuals on the screens. You can hear civilians screaming because you don't understand what is happening. Are these firecrackers? The way you can see the airstrike, I mean, it's definitely devastating.
And what is more interesting is that the Iron Dome consists of a truck-towed unit, each of which fires a radar-guided missile to counter short-range threats, including rockets, mortars, drones, while they are mid-air. So, one has to understand, if we break down the entire attack, or how, the attack might have been planned and how it's going to, unfold, is that these Iron Dome missiles are very well planned. They firstly target their, they firstly target where they want to land through mid-range, and, that's how the entire attack has been planned. And the all-weather system does not shoot down all the rockets on Israelis' radars. Surprisingly, it uses an artificial intelligence based mechanism to first determine whether an incoming rocket is an interpreted threat and will hit a populated area. If not, the Iron Dome ignores the rocket and let it enters Israel's airspace. This is what the Reuters has been telling us. So there is artificial intelligence behind what we know is called the Iron Dome.
Definitely, Adrika. I mean, I was just reading about it. We know the Iron Dome, it was funded by the US. The US have, came out in support of Israel. They are supporting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and they are condemning that whatever the Hamas military group has done, there needs to be a strong action taken against them, because this is not something that they appreciate. I'm just gonna read out couple of international reactions coming in for Israel on the ongoing conflict. The United States have came out and said that there is never any justification for terrorism. We stand in solidarity with the government and people of Israel. United Nations UN has also come out, and they are also saying that this attack is having a horrific impact on Israeli civilians. Civilian must never be the target of attack. I mean, we can see that, the people who have been held hostages, it includes women and children. I mean, Adrika, before we move on, we have a reaction coming in from Palestinian ambassador. Let's listen in what he had to say.
Regrettably, history for some media and politicians start when Israelis are killed. Our people have endured one deadly year after another. We came to the Security Council month after month, warning of the consequences of Israeli impunity and international inaction. About a year ago, we stated before the Security Council, the Palestinian people will be free one day or another, one way or another. We chose the peaceful way, the one the international community advocates for. Do not let Israel prove us wrong for our sake and theirs. This is not a time to let Israel double down on its terrible choices. This is a time to tell Israel it needs to change course, that there is a path to peace where neither Palestinians nor Israelis are killed.
Some visuals of parts of Gaza show a mosque in complete shambles. In another visual, a house of the Hamas intelligence chief can be seen completely destroyed after an airstrike by Israeli forces. The aftermath following in the conflict in an Israeli kibbutz near Gaza shows several vehicles destroyed along the streets. I mean, the visuals that we are seeing on our screens are the aftermath that basically, followed the entire attack near the Israeli kibbutz near the Gaza, and it shows several vehicles destroyed along the streets. All that we can see is that plumes of smoke that rise from the ship that has been docked in Gaza's port. So the visuals that you can see on your screens, they speak for themselves. They speak utter destructions, and people in shambles, people just trying to figure out what has been unleashed upon them. You can see visuals that show a mosque in complete shambles. In another visual, the house of the Hamas intelligence chief can be seen completely destroyed after an airstrike by Israeli forces. The word that has been repeated here is destruction, and places getting destroyed. The aftermath is still yet to be calculated. We still don't know the number of destruction that we are looking at, the number of damage that we are looking at, both in terms of life and property. So we still don't know where we stand.
We can see how the civilians, they're just trying to put back the pieces of their lives together that was destroyed, in between the war. I mean, civilians should never be the target whenever a conflict has been going on, I mean the Israeli conflict, we have been reading about it since the longest of time. It has been going on since World War I, and after that there has been no there has been never been any kind of settlement between the two groups. But you can see the visuals coming in, it's a mosque, and you can see children's, they merely look like teenagers. They're trying to clear it out. People are shattered, they're disheartened. You can see the mosque completely, it was completely destroyed. I mean, to
Nancy,
put it back together.
How you rightly pointed out, civilians should never be a target of any such conflict, but it is so sad that it's always the civilians that of course look like an easy target, and that's how they are being treated for the longest time. And what is very eerie for me, what is more scary for me, is that the visuals that all our viewers are getting on the screen, it's almost like people there are of course in pain and things have been damaged and there's no compensation for it, but it just looks scaringly so monotonous, as if it's part of their normal lives. It's so scary how a civilian should never be subjected to all of that.
Definitely.
But look at them, they know destruction has happened, they know what has been unleashed upon them, and then they're trying to put their life back piece by piece.
Well, definitely, and it was just not the mosque and not the house of the intelligence officer. There were plumes of smoke that rose from the ships docked at Gaza's port. Hundreds of people have been killed on both sides since the Iran-backed Hamas launched the multi-pronged assault, with Israel forces fighting holdout militants and pounding the Gaza Strip with airstrikes. I mean, the visuals that you are seeing on your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, it shows the amount of destruction that has happened. It's the visuals coming in are from the docks, and how the smoke is rising from the docks. I mean, the amount of destruction, you can see the heavy black smoke coming out after the Hamas launched the multi-pronged assault, and the Israeli forces, they are fighting the holdout militants and pounding the Gaza Strip with airstrikes. This, I mean, from the visual, it seems like that this conflict is going to escalate more further. There is it doesn't look like that there is going to be peace, there is going to be settlement, there is going to be normalcy in the life of the Israeli people. It's just not going to be a matter of time, and it's not a picture of the near future. I mean, it looks like the way these dockets, the smoke coming in, Adrika, I mean, it's so scary to see. And just imagine what the civilian must have been going through, seeing visuals from across, and you can see that a docket has been completely destroyed because there was airstrike by the Hamas militant group, and it happened so, I mean, there was no warning given. Israel was taken completely by surprise the way it came.
Good.
And all that we can see is that smoke billows rise over Gaza city following Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip, which was hammered by Israeli airstrikes ahead of what many feared may be a looming ground invasion. Officials reported at least 370 deaths with thousands more wounded across the impoverished enclave. So one thing is what we know for a fact is that numbers are always, in estimation taken to be more than what has been reported. We still do not have the perfect figures, we still do not have the exact numbers, but all that we can say is that smoke billows rise over Gaza city following the Israeli airstrikes. And before moving on, let's take a listen in to what Rishi Sunak had to say about the current escalating situation for the Gaza Strip.
I've just spoken with Prime Minister Netanyahu to assure him of the UK's steadfast support as Israel defends itself against these appalling attacks. We will do everything that we can to help. Terrorism will not prevail. Hours. We will continue to do everything that we can to help. When I spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu recently this afternoon, I assured him of that support and said that the UK stood ready to provide that support, whether that's diplomatic or security support, and he knows that we are here and ready to help.
I mean, the visuals that we are getting in right now, it happened. It's coming in from the Gaza city. which was followed by Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip, which was hammered by Israeli forces ahead of what many feared may be a looming ground invasion. 370 people have already lost their lives, with thousands more wounded across the impoverished enclave. I mean, look at the visuals that are on your screen, the kind of destruction this might have caused. And we are getting the numbers that more than 370 people have died following the airstrike.
Getting numbers that are rising minute by minute. We are also getting international reactions. What we just took a listen to was Rishi Sunak. He was assuring that terrorism cannot prevail like that, and the government is working to establish the status of UK citizens in Israel. Rishi Sunak says, as deadly attacks by Hamas saw one British man serving in the country's army killed. The Prime Minister declared terrorism will not prevail and pledged a steadfast support for his counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu as the death toll from the incursion climbed to over almost 600 on Sunday. It came as the family of a 20-year-old Nathaniel Young, a British serving with the Israeli Defense Services, said had been killed on the Gaza borders. So we are getting data minute by minute. We are getting updates on the death toll. We are also getting international reactions, and the visuals on your screen, like I said, speak for themselves. You can see plume of smoke. You can see how the smoke and the darkness has kind of submerged the city into what looks like an unprecedented attack, what the reports are calling the deadliest day for the Gaza Strip in the last 15 years is what we are getting as per sources here.
Definitely. I mean, the Israel forces have carried over 100 airstrikes since Gaza, resulting in the deaths of the terrorists and civilians in the region. Several areas in Gaza have been pulverized by the airstrike. I mean, this is not something that is going to die down. It's just not a matter of few days. The airstrike, there are more than 100 airstrikes. Israel has retaliated the attack. They are trying their best. Even Prime Minister Netanyahu has came out and he has said that we are going to definitely take revenge for what they have done, take revenge for the attack that has taken the whole country by surprise. Coming in more is that the Israeli flag is hoisted on the pediment of the European Parliament in Brussels after the Palestinian militant group Hamas launched a surprise attack against Israel. I mean, you can see the kind of takeover they had planned. I mean, this looks like an organized attack on Israel, and Hamas was planning this. This was not something that just happened. They were planning the attacks, I think, for months, and they have taken the country by surprise. There was no warning given beforehand, and the destruction that they have caused is going to get worse even further. And the way now the Israel is also counter-attacking, I mean, that is just going to escalate the matter further, the conflict further, and the conflict that has already been going on for more than decades, Adrika, is something that is so scary.
The visuals that we are getting right now is that the Israel's flag flies in EU's parliament in solidarity during the Hamas onslaught. And I'm reading the Israel's national news soft copy here that says European Commission also displays Israeli flag in solidarity after Hamas massacres almost and more than 600 people. The European Parliament and the European Commission both displayed the Israeli flag in show of solidarity. The European Parliament President Roberta Metsola published a photograph of the Israeli flag also, and they quoted that today the Israeli flag flies high in front of our headquarters in Brussels, and Hamas terrorists have been struck at the heart of Israel, capturing and killing innocent women and children. We deeply mourn the victims of these devastating attacks. But my question is mourning enough? Yeah. Is mourning enough, Nancy? Does the flag, by report so-called lying in solidarity, hoisted in solidarity, is all of that enough?
No, not at all, Adrika. I mean, the West has come in support of Israel. I mean, whatever is happening is something that is disheartening, and whatever the Israel is going through is completely, heart-shattering. Moving on, that the Israel soldiers and tanks are deployed in the town of Sedoi, while the Iron Dome defense system continues to intercept rockets. I mean, you can see the visuals coming in, how the soldiers and tanks are being deployed. Israel is on high alert. They are taking Iron Dome into account. The defense system that was funded by US military in 2011 was something, you can see the visuals coming in, that how Israel is on high alert, and they are preparing to retaliate the attack, and they are going to take revenge for the destruction that was caused by the militant group. Moving on, a funeral procession in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip of the Palestinian killed by the Israeli strike. The conflict's death toll near 1,000 since the Palestinian military group launched a massive surprise assault from Gaza. Adrika, the visuals coming in are completely devastating. I mean, look at this. A funeral has been going on. People have been carrying the body of their loved ones to just say the final goodbye. But the way it is happening, you can see the people mourning, Adrika. I mean, what they have been going through is something.
And what we are seeing is that women and women, children, we got certain reports that said that infants were killed, 3-month-old infants with all of their sisters, and a mother who was killed. Just look at the visuals. They scream pain. They look devastating. The funerals have been going on on mass basis. It's almost like everyone is rethink through the similar pain. Everyone is everyone is lamenting a same situation, and it's almost like it's a community that's reading the loss, a community that is suffering so much. You can see the pain and the helplessness, more than the pain, is what I like to notice on the people's faces, on children, mere young people. We can see here the majority here looks like young people who have not even had their life started nicely. It's not even the people are not even we can see young children there, that they've not even seen their life halfway through, and look at the pain that one can sense in those visuals.
I mean, it's devastating, Adrika, whatever is happening. You can see how people are mourning the life of their loved ones, and you can see the crowd gathered, because 700 deaths and thousands of people have reportedly died. I mean, that is something that it will take forever and ever to move on from the loss of the lives that have lost, and there is never going to be any compensation for whatever is happening. Moving on, there are several hundred people gathered in Germany's capital city to show their support for Israel after the Palestinian military group Hamas launched a large-scale surprise attack. We were just talking about the international support that was coming in for the country, and you can see these visuals are from Germany, how people are protesting for Israel and what they are going through. They are condemning the act that has happened, the Hamas military group, and the way they have launched this intense attack, this large-scale military attack on Israel. I mean, that is something that the Germany is condemning so far.
And the reports that we are getting, I'm going to quote Reuters here, and a report from 8th October says that Germany increases protection of Israeli and Jewish institutions. The authorities have been saying, the German authorities in fact have been saying that with incalculable consequences for the whole region, following the biggest attack on Israel in years by Palestinian Islamist group Hamas. We warn everyone against fueling and spreading of terror in this situation. And Germany is reporting reportedly increasing support for the Israelis, is what the reports have been telling us, right? And Germany is coming out, and the stand is that Germany's perceived historic duty towards Israel, given its responsibility for the Holocaust, is echoing a statement made earlier in the day by the leaders of all three parties in Germany. So we are having a lot of international reactions in form of aid here. Germany coming out and saying that we have increased protection for the Israelis.
Sooner and sooner these days, like, you know, they don't even wait until the bodies are cold before they get towards like the arguing and the fighting. And I just want to support, not support, but voice my horror at the actual actions themselves.
It's horrifying, especially with the fact that I see some supports towards Hamas in the West as well, and like it's just very hard to express. It's scary, and yeah, it's also very unbelievable that it can happen in 2023, 21st century, and yeah, it feels like the whole world is getting crazy.
Palestinians gather in a dusty street after the National Islamic Bank in Gaza partially collapsed following an Israeli airstrike. The visuals on your screen are of the Palestinians that gather in a dusty street after the National Islamic Bank of in Gaza partially collapsed after the following, Israeli airstrike. The death toll in the Gaza Strip has, of course, risen after Israel launched an airstrike on Hamas targets for the second consecutive day after the Palestinian militant group launched a surprise dawn raid on Saturday, killing hundreds of Israelis. It is the second consecutive day that we are talking about here. You can see the fear in the air, you can see the fear in the atmosphere. The visuals on your screen are of the National Islamic Bank in Gaza that partially collapsed following an Israeli airstrike. Like I mentioned earlier, of course there is loss of human life, and it cannot be compensated by anything or by any means, but the loss and destruction of infrastructure here, what we are seeing on our screens is the National Islamic Bank in Gaza partially collapsed after the Israeli airstrike, and this is the second consecutive day of the destruction that we are talking here. People are haywired, nobody knows what to do. The only thing and one thing that is for sure is that more destruction is on their way, if not anything worse. When will life return back to normalcy? When will Israeli people really live in peace and thrive in peace? We still do not know yet.
You can see women and children and ambulance coming to rescue the civilians, and whether it was the mosque, whether it's the house of the the intelligence officer, whether it was a ship rocket, whether it's a bank, you can see the kind of destruction. You cannot see what was there before. The bank has completely destroyed. There is the destruction. One cannot see one hand from the other, and this kind of destruction, you can see how the panic among civilians and the way they're running so that they can save their lives.
The visuals that we are getting on our screen is that a column of trucks transporting tanks moves through the Sderot area as the death toll from the latest violence between Israel and Palestinian militants surges. It was part of an area domination tactic by Israel. So the only details that we have is that it was in part of an area domination tactic by Israel. We still don't know what was the motive and what was basically the motivation factor here behind these attacks. For all that we know is that Israel-Palestinian conflict has been going on for decades. We still do not stand at any solution, but that still also does not mean that destruction of this sort can be unleashed upon civilians.
Well, whatever is happening in Israel is completely devastating. The kind of destruction that has happened, the number of lives that have lost, nobody is going to ever compensate for that, and it's not, the war is not worth it, whatever the conflict is, whatever the difference in ideologies is. but 700 people are already dead in Israel, and the way Israel is also now retaliating, so the people are losing their lives on both of the sides. In Gaza, we were getting that around 400 people have lost their lives. So how this will pan out, I mean how much worse it will get, is something that we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't want to wait and see what happens, how this events unfolds, but the sad reality is that the way things are going now, the matter is going to get, it's going to escalate even further. Before we move on, let's again listen into what Palestinian ambassador had to say on the situation.
Regrettably, history for some media and politicians start when Israelis are killed. Our people have endured one deadly year after another. We came to the Security Council month after month, warning of the consequences of Israeli impunity and international inaction about a year ago. We stated before the Security Council, the Palestinian people will be free one day or another, one way or another. We chose the peaceful way, the one the international community advocates for. Do not let Israel prove us wrong, for our sake and theirs. This is not a time to let Israel double down on its terrible choices. This is a time to tell Israel it needs to change course, that there is a path to peace, where neither Palestinians nor Israelis are killed.
I mean, whatever happening in the intense battle that has been going on in Iran, in Israel, beg your pardon, is going to get the visuals that you're getting on your screens are that firefighters and excavators search for bodies in the burnt down police station of the Sdoe. The worst fighting in decades between Palestinian militants and Israel has killed hundreds of Israelis, while in Gaza hundreds of people have also been killed. I mean, the destruction is not one-sided. The conflict is not one-sided. People are losing lives on both of the sides. I mean, you can see the visual. The firefighters are searching for bodies because the airstrike took the people by surprise. The infrastructure was just in fraction of seconds that a building was destroyed into dust, and now the firefighters are trying to rescue the bodies and the people who are still stuck in between this whole destruction and the mass destruction that they have taken. I mean, imagine that, and now you can see, Adrika, the visuals, the way smoke is coming out of buildings. I mean, the kind of destruction, the intensity of the war that has been going on in Israel.
And it almost looks like the smoke and the plumes of smoke that we are seeing on our screens, multiple visuals flashing here, is almost a metaphor for how the smoke is going to submerge the entire strip of Gaza. Gaza is already a disputed piece of it's a disputed land strip, and that's what the reports have been telling us, and this is almost like a deadliest day in the 15 years of the Gaza Strip. So destruction is unprecedented. The way the attack was planned was unprecedented. All that we know is that Israel targets Hamas terrorists' infrastructure, and it's just almost unprecedented in a way that how the attack was planned and how it has been unleashed on civilians. Israel and Palestine conflict has been going on for decades. We still do not have a conclusion as we sit here and talk, but that also does not mean that any such form of terror or any such attack of terror can be unleashed. We can see armed men here trying to navigate through the situation, We can see Israeli forces deployed on high alert. By the body language, we can sense that the situation seems so tense. Look at the heavy deployment here. The men, you know, they are absolutely armored, you know, standing tall as, you know, trying to figure out what the situation is, trying to control whatsoever may come. But everything is so unprecedented and so unpredictable. We never know what we might have to report the next day. We never know what page one might bring to you tomorrow, because the situation of Israel and Gaza just looks painful. And what's worse is that it looks unpredictable, Nancy.
Definitely. I mean, you can see how the Israeli troops are on high alert on the west bank of the Gaza Strip, and they are keeping a tight watch at the border of the Lebanon. Israel troops are on high alert. They are trying to give a prompt response, and now the visuals that we're getting on our screen is the way the Gaza is trying to counter the Iron Domes, to counter the Iron Dome's defense system with their missiles, with their the way they are retaliating the attack. I mean, you just saw the visuals of how the Israeli forces are so on high alert, and they are coming in strong.
And these are the Iron Domes that we are talking here, and that me and Nancy, we dissected the Iron Domes for you in layman's language. What the international reports tell us, the AP and the Reuters, is that these Iron Domes have the success rate of 96 and 90% respectively. So once an attack is planned by these Iron Domes, one shall not await for anything but destruction. These domes also use artificial intelligence, is what the reports have been telling us, and the success rate is massive. They intercept their target before locking in what comes their way. So we just still don't know the mass destruction will just stop today or not. We can see residents, civilians, trying to at least act that life will return back to normalcy. Authorities trying to remove the debris, trying to at least make the situation look like it's normal. Mass destruction here of human life and infrastructure as well. It takes years to build a city. It takes years to build infrastructure like that. We just saw visuals of the mosque being, in shambles. We saw the visuals of the National Bank, being in shambles, and now we have residents trying to figure out, how do we compensate for the loss? Do we even compensate, or let it just be, because we just don't know if the situation is going to worsen?
Definitely, Adrika. I mean, if you see the visuals coming, and it looks like that something that never existed. I mean, how the civilians are trying to put pieces of their life together, which was destroyed in just fractions of second. When Hamas launched the airstrike, and now the Israel is also counter-attacking it. I mean, civilians are being targeted. Their lives. We have seen that over 700 people have lost their lives, and this is something that how civilians, it's going to be very hard for them to come out, to return back to normalcy, and to even process what is happening.
The civic amenities lie in havoc right now. So look at the authorities trying to restore any sort of civic stability here. We don't know what awaits for Gaza. We don't know. Residents are trying to restore the damage. They are trying to compensate for what has been lost. All we can see is that debris, shackles, shambles. I can sit here and give you a lot of synonyms here for what Gaza has been going through, but one can only sit here and read, and we can only quote reports for you, but what has been unleashed on Gaza is unprecedented. And the pain and the terror, Nancy, the fear that it's almost transparent for all of us. It's transparent. The fear can be sensed through the visuals that we are getting.
Well, Adrika, whatever is happening in Israel, the conflict, it has been going on for more than decades now. I mean, we have seen a lot of, a lot of military operations, a lot of retaliations, a lot of attacks in that span of time. But something like this has happened after 50 years. I mean, the intense attack that we are seeing right now, the destruction. We just saw how, residents, National Bank, mosque, and how the people are just shouting and running on the streets in panic. I mean, how is it going to, pan out? And how civilians are going to get targeted and how many people are going to lose their life is something that, it shatters my heart and, it scares me. I mean, the horror of war is something that is, sending shivers down the spine.
And Israel has almost now declared it as an official war is because again the damage is at a mass level. What the reports are saying is that this is the deadliest day in probably the last 15 years. For Israel, the Gaza Strip has been devastated. Just one day randomly a airstrike has been unleashed upon the Gaza Strip. We know that this conflict has been going on for decades. There is no solution that we sit at through right now.
Definitely.
But that still again does not mean that civilians can be targeted to such an attack.
Definitely, Adrika. Now, shifting back our focus to domestic news, to national news, what is happening in our country. Well, the exam results for the upcoming elections are going to come out soon. The Election Commission of India will announce the polling dates for the upcoming elections in 5 states at a press conference in Delhi today. These 5 states are Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh and Mizoram. The election body usually announces the polling dates and election scheduled 6 to 8 weeks prior to the expiry of the term of Legislative Assembly. The terms of Legislative Assemblies in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh and Mizoram are due to expire between December 2023 and January 2024. So the press conference is going to be held at 12 p.m. today. So the exam dates are going to get out, and I think these 5 states they have to get ready for the big exam for the 2024 elections. I mean, Adrika, how do you see? I mean, this election commissioner is going to announce the dates today, and the 5 states, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh and Mizoram. I mean, the preparations are is already there. We can see rallies going on.
Elections are of course a big deal, and now that the Election Commission has formally come out with an entire statement and the declaration that all these states are ready for the run-up, all that we can do is sit here and track all the details for our viewers, and by that time read more reports by the Election Commissions and see what the statements have for us.
Definitely. I mean, that's all we have on the show for you today. It's a wrap, but don't go anywhere. We have a series of shows lined up for you. Stay tuned for latest update on the Israeli conflict and what the EC commission, the Election Commission will announce the date very shortly. Till then, don't go anywhere. Keep watching News 9 Live.